Welcome back to the First to Last podcast from the First to Last the Nerdom, the show from the First to Last the Nerdom, where we celebrate cinema at its boldest, bloodiest, and most unforgettable. And this week we're kicking off the calendar with something explosive because it's time for Action New Year. For our Action New Year episode, we're diving headfirst into one of the most influential action films ever made, The Killer, the Hong Kong action classic from legendary director John Woo. This is the movie that redefined action cinema, slow motion gunfights, balletic violence, doves in flight, and tragic code of honor written in blood. Starring Chow Yun-fat as professional assassin torn between loyalty, guilt, and redemption. The Killer blends operatic emotion with jaw-dropping action set pieces. Every shootout feels like a dance. Every stare carries weight, and every bullet lands with purpose. Its influence echoes through decades of global action film making, from Hollywood blockbusters to modern crime thrillers. We'll be breaking down John Woo's signature style, the film's emotional core, and why The Killer remains essential viewing for action fans, especially as a way to ring in the year with style, intensity, and whole lot of flying glass. So load up the pistols, cue the slow motion, and brace yourself. This is the First Last podcast from the First to Last Nerdom, and this Action New Year starting strong with The Killer. How's it going, little B?
Love it. I love it. Here. Anyway, knock off the silly thing. I don't even know. I play our ear, but maybe not on the recording.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much for that wonderful lead-in, Tom. What this thing here that we're talking about here is the wonderful First to Last podcast that newly christened, which we've been doing for years, but we finally kind of come up with a name for other than the main show.
Right.
Or whatnot. So we've gotten slightly a little bit more specific, yet still retain the generic the First Last podcast. Anyway, all joking, I love that name. But who are we? We are Mike and Tom, hosts here, hosts or co-hosts. What I don't even we didn't sort that out yet either here. So whatever. But we are the First to Last the Nerdom. You can always find us on home base on YouTube, as well as our website, preferably our website here, as we're growing and making it a little bit better. I am working on a new launch here for the new year. I have a soft launch. It's in dev and it looks really good. We'll see how it goes. But it is, as always, FirstLastNerdom.com. And with that, Tom, I'll let you do a little bit of the plug-in here for our main feed here.
Yeah, we're on YouTube under First Last Nerdom. And we have a cavalcade of videos. We cover everything from TV to comic books to movies, both old and new. We have several different shows that we've started this year that we're happy with, that are getting views. So we're very happy. We picked up a couple of subscribers, so thanks for picking us up. We cover all things nerdy, like sci-fi, fantasy, horror, and this week we're covering action. I'm also on our physical media, or not physical media, but social media under First Last Nerdom under Reddit. I find different subreddits to promote us, but a lot of times I get deleted. But if you are coming over from there, hello, thanks for joining us. And then I'm also on X under First Last Nerdom, and I promote our stuff there when I can under different things. And also I'll post random nerdy stuff, like Ray was doing a giveaway for yeah, a Steam Deck.
That is cool.
So I retweeted it in hopes of maybe winning it, but yeah,
Hope
who
springs
knows?
eternal.
Right, exactly. And I gave us a little Christmas song with the pigs in the blanket.
Awesome, by the way. Awesome. Didn't know it existed. Hat tip to you. You found that, but I'm sure you weren't the first. But you were the first as far as I'm concerned. So Christopher Columbus, the hat goes on you.
yeah. I only had like 1,000 views, so I was kind of surprised. But yeah, Ray was playing a mod of Resident Evil that these guys did for Christmas, I think it was, and when the it was filled with all this Christmas stuff, and at one point your character fights a beast that was a pigs in the blanket, so that was kind of fun. But and they played that song during that, so that's where I was tipped off for the song. But Mike, you have some social media as well.
Yes, sir, I do. Yes, sir, I do. Yeah, I am ML, Mike, aka also aka at Sofa King Jewish underscore on X. You can find me there. Well, again, it's like I said, I'm working on the website here to make it expanded out, and it's going to be really cool. I'm really excited to get ahead of that of the new year. It's been a long time coming. And that so anyway, so breaking into our movie here. So usually I like to query your history on this on the thing that we get
Yeah.
into because it is a really good. I enjoy that. Now I have no personal history with this. I have seen maybe a John Woo film here or there across my lifetime, but as far as it goes, never haven't seen the triad, so to speak, or the big three. That I'm sure we'll get into, we'll break into here. But this one, 1989, The Killer, Chow Yun Fat, John Woo, set the table, my friend. What's your background? Did you get to see this? Or did you know about this because there was a subculture of folks who knew about this film and it was kind of like a hidden gem, for except for those in the know, at least, as far as the rights go and being able to see it from overseas.
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking for the show. I'm probably not gonna find it.
Oh, the
But
level of gunplay was really awesome.
oh yeah, absolutely. Yes. No, I was cued into it. It was released in 1989, as we know. But yeah, there was a show that that was done in Britain called The Incredibly Strange Film Show, and they spotlighted. It was hosted by Jonathan Ross, the awesome Jonathan Ross, and he spotlighted like cult filmmakers like Sam Raimi, Jackie Chan on it. But yeah, and he focused on yeah, like Jackie Chan, and it kind of cued me into this Hong Kong cinema thing. Also, he spotlighted Troy Hark, who produced The Killer. I don't know if they did a show on John Woo, but just because I was already cued into the Hong
Right.
Kong cinema, I was primed and ready for John Woo. So I don't know if I saw it immediately, but as soon as I was aware of John Woo, I wanted to see one of his movies. As soon as I was aware of Jackie Chan, I wanted to see a Jackie Chan movie. But yeah, so I was so that was late, very late '80s, early '90s is when I was starting to find out, and I was there was sort of a underground videotape scene where they would get these different distributors they would promote in the back of horror mags, and I would order maybe a dubious legality of these things, whether or not they were strictly legal. When I could get a legal videotape of it, I
Mail
did, but
order.
yeah, exactly, it's mail order, so I don't know how legit they were. But that's how I got into some of these movies, and I don't know if that was one of them that I got of the killer, but yeah, I was way before, I think a lot of people knew about John Woo when he started doing the American movies like Hard
Right.
Target, Broken Arrow, and Face Off, especially. But yeah, I was already an OG John Woo fan
That's
back
what I
in the
was
day.
figuring. Right. Yeah. And just to kind of catch up the audience. So like to kind of paint a picture really briefly. Yeah. You get Jung, his Chow Yun Fat. He's a disillusioned assassin who he blinds a nightclub singer, Jenny or Sally, yeah, during a hit job. Goes a little sideways. But so unlike typical hitmen, he has a conscience of sorts. Very anti-hero gray area for sure. And then as he is racked with guilt, and then it's kind of his he owes this debt that he unintentionally incurred for like one last job so that he can correct it, pay for her surgery essentially and restore her sight because she has such a beautiful voice and has a career anyway. But then it kind of goes in there and it kind of goes a little twisty turny there. Not noir at all, but there are some twists and turns, and there are probably like three different forces at any given play that are kind of various points of people getting caught in between these big forces that are on him. And there's a cop that's on the detective that's kind of like a rebel, that doesn't mind. His motto would be this is perfect. And I'll hand it back to you, Tom. His motto would absolutely be, well, if you want to make an omelet, you got to break some eggs. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting dynamic because you have
yeah, it's really good.
the love interest of he's trying to make right with this woman that he blinded, and he in the process falls in love with her, or falls you could argue that maybe it was love at first sight. He sees her, and that was the turning point for him, maybe becoming something different. But you could see that he was sort of he's a different take on an assassin. He's not cold blooded. He does have a heart to him, and so it makes him kind of stand out, be different in the triad that he's working for as a killer. You see that he's maybe not totally invested into that group. He's a bit of an outsider, outlayer that anything that happens that maybe sets them off, they'll turn against him. And then you have this cop that gets clued in on him and is going to track him, but is oddly fascinated by this killer. There's almost a camaraderie, and just to set the stage, during Hong Kong at that time, the police weren't the most pristine group. There were a lot of them were on the take, so there was a sense that most of the cops were corrupted. So this was in the Hong Kong society at the time. So this this cop that is an outsider in his own right in the police force, because he wants to do right. He wants to do the right thing. He wants to follow justice to its extreme. So he's sort of an outsider as well. So these two outsiders in the chosen fields that they elected find each other and find this connection to each other. And there's sort of like this friendship that blossoms, and it creates an interesting dynamic for this, because and it was very unique at the time, that the two opposing forces would kind of match up. There's a there's a very fascinating dynamic to the movie, and some people have equated it to like a homoerotic relationship, which I
Interesting.
don't see.
I didn't get that vibe at all. Like I got more of a
Mhm,
grudging respect. First, this guy thought this was just kind of like some kind of lunatic dirtbag. And he's not half wrong. He's not wrong. But then, he
mhm.
kind of there's some very tense interactions which would never happen in the real life. But even if it were Hong Kong. But anyway, it shows his true colors without revealing too much. But it shows the character. It shows that detective. It shows him there's enough of a man there that considers what he does with care. and,
Yeah,
and and so this is like this thing, and it kind of gives him pause. um and it's a very unlikely buddy adventure that
right.
that you totally don't think I did not see that coming at all. But it was just very interesting how the interplay it is very 80s. It is probably like probably apex 80s action film, but from a different part of the world. Obviously, there's a lot of gunplay and whatnot, and there are so many shootouts like in this movie. And Beretta practically is like practically a star of the show as well. So which is
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. So
Absolutely. Yeah, and yeah, guns obviously were very restricted in Hong Kong at the time. So they said that it was they they had to get these on loan, and the police were fans of his work. So they were very lenient with him with the use of the guns. But yeah, to maybe dip back just slightly to the homoerotic thing. Yeah, I think it's just that people have a weird thing with bonds between two men that is that intense. Like that it gets into that with Lord of the Rings. There's always those homoerotic things with that one as well, just because there's that really strong bond between the men. And I think as a society we kind of have issues with that. Like one of the troubles with they tried to do an American version of this movie for a long time, and they struggled with that connection between the two men because
interesting.
how do you how do you not make that a little too much. And to respond to that, John Woo has made a statement about that confusion on whether or not there's a that tone to it. He says people will bring their own preconceptions to a movie. If they see something in the killer that they consider to be homoerotic, then that is their privilege. It's certainly not my intention. It's certainly not intentional.
Yeah, and just to kind of give a little bit of an umbrella here. I mean, you can make anything fit, really. I mean, it's there. So I'm not poo pooing it. I mean, I guess I
Yeah.
could. I can see like where some breadcrumbs would be there, and you would pick those up and end with that conclusion, perhaps. But all theories aside, I see them more at their push pull as kind of like a older brother, younger brother, or something like that.
Mhm.
I don't know. Like I got more of a dynamic from like it reminded me of different phases of that from that, like, to competing. There's almost like a
Mhm.
competition among them a little bit too,
Yeah.
in a weird way. I mean, it makes as much sense as the premise does, but it carries it off. The other thing too that I really liked about this movie, that yes, it is an action film, and in in the West, in America, we are very, especially in the 80s, like you were very, I mean, that was bread and butter. you couldn't
Mhm.
you There was no such thing as a weekend, any weekend in American, from probably the late 70s through the 80s, well into the 90s. There wasn't a weekend that you couldn't find some action movie playing somewhere, that was, some big hit from some time period and our thing. Ours can be, there's different permutations of that, right? So there's just ones that just become a cultural touchstone. In our binge worthy, we'll touch on that one. That one, hell yeah, that's we'll our binge worthy has features a foundational element of television history. But anyway, going back to this, ours is kind of schlocky, or can be schlocky. That in foreign action films kind of have that that sheen to. Never mind what we have here, like our bad ones or good ones or B ones or whatever you want to call them. But foreign action films in America are kind of, no, I would say they were probably looked down upon at some point in time, but we always kind of take them and kind of hold them at arm's length and don't really take them seriously. And if they take themselves seriously, it adds to the punchline sometimes. Um, that's not true for this. This was very serious. It took itself seriously, and it invited you to also take it seriously. Now, there are some things that didn't quite age perfectly well, but nothing on the whole that would detract from the storyline or the movie. But anyway, sorry about that long winded thing. I just had to get that in there about the. It's just a very interesting take on action movie, and I can see why this blazed the trail in its own right. And it actually made some careers, actually, but
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's one of those movies. Yeah, I was when I was younger, I yeah. had a bit of airs. I was like, oh, well, I'm way above those brainless American action movies. I go to Hong Kong for my action movies. Yeah, yeah, I was sort of that asshole, but yeah. So I thought I was being pretty smart by being into this, but it is definitely a different grade of an action movie. Yeah, in John Woo's been on record as saying this was inspired by his love of Mean Streets by Martin Scorsese, and a movie I haven't seen, John Pierre Melville's Le Samurai or The Samurai. I was looking at that as a film noir. We may have to do something on.
I made a note of that too. The
Mhm.
La Samurai,
Uh-huh.
yeah, for the French film. That yeah,
Yeah, there's
yeah,
a
absolutely.
there's a criterion, so we may have to dip back with that one. But yeah,
Oh yeah,
this is yeah, it's an interesting take on an assassin. He was under the production of I believe you say his name is Troy Hark, but I could be wrong there. But yeah, so and they made a few movies together, like a Better Tomorrow, a Better Tomorrow 2. Um and Better Tomorrow 2, uh Hark didn't like that at all in his cut of that, so he re-edited that movie from John Woo, and he was so upset with Woo that he tried to convince the production people to fire him, and which they refused, and they kept Woo, but every time John Woo would try to do a movie, Hark would poo poo it, and he was trying to do The Killer, and Hark was like, nobody wants to see a movie about a killer. That's
right.
the
The
focus.
cool gangster, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it was kind of a novel idea at the time for Hong Kong. This was definitely, especially that take between the two, the killer and the cop. That dynamic really has it, even though it's kind of become a kind of a trope and a thing that John Woo kept going back to. But this whole idea of these two guys on opposite ends of the spectrum, coming together, and having this push and pull, was kind of very novel at the time. And
Very.
this
Yep.
movie, I don't know. Always appreciated this movie, but this time watching it, I don't know what it was, but I really, really got into this time. It was like, every moment in this movie just worked for me, and it's just under 2 hours. It just flew by for me. It's just one of those movies that is kind of almost nonstop action, and it just kind of overhit it. And it's not like there's dips in it. It's sort of like a continuous leveling up of violence. It's sort of like the action just keeps building and building,
Yeah.
and it doesn't stop. And there's not a time where you're like, oh, well, that scene a few moments before was actually better than this one. There was like this orchestrated thing of action and violence that just kind of builds and builds and builds until you get this huge crescendo at the end, that really kind of overwhelms you. And um, just a picture perfect way of doing an action movie, but at the same time having this emotional underbelly that just kind of and you only get the beats that you need for it. There's the whole dynamic between him and the blind lady. You don't really get to build and invest in that relationship. And even there's a scene where there's a standoff between the killer and the cop, and it's sort of a standoff with them holding guns to each other, but it's also developing the relationship between the blind woman, because she doesn't see what's going on, and there's like that
Yeah, that's
humor.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
humorous. There's a humorous element to it because she can't see what they're doing. So there's that kind of classic comedy of a mistaken situation. But you also have that tense feeling of them having guns at each other and things could go wrong, but you're also developing this charming relationship between the killer and the woman that he loves, and possibly even the cop having feelings for her as well. That scene plays so many different things at one time that it's really kind of a classic scene of being able to go through several different threads of a storyline in one scene, but not really highlighting one. It's all kind of going together at one time that you're just kind of overwhelmed with everything that's happening.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say it introduced us to gun fu. It is considered like the second of his of John Woo's trifecta triad, or whatever you want to call it. Better Tomorrow was in 86. This came out in 89, and then Hard Boiled in 92. Anyway, it legitimized. This was the first serious film that I think that the people took seriously and could take seriously such an action film, especially a foreign one, with such care and to make you care about the characters. Like everything was down. Like they had this thing dialed in, and I think um, I'm sure this is part of it, but you had Chow Yun Fat who put, I believe it was him and a couple people that put their money in for
Hmm.
this film.
Well, his
And
production, yeah,
well, right, right, but
who he was
right,
working for, yeah.
right, yeah, his thing. But you can tell, and it started a trend. I hear you. It did put me in a mood. It made me want to watch more John Woo, and also some of the other films that I was like, oh, like the Samurai, like the one that we like uncovered that one as well. Like that, I was like, yeah. That there's a couple other, like, this is the fun part, because you see like kind of these things that were maybe precursors to it that we never knew about, because it's coming from a Hong Kong side of the world. But this is like you know, Jackie Chan, that's another era too, and we've covered him as well. Like we've
Hmm.
lovingly covered him. And we could lovingly cover this one. But this is the first one that took the gun fu thing, the subgenre, and it was able to like make it art, bridge that East foreign kind of thing, but also add in the Western gun culture,
Hmm.
which is, like
Yeah.
obviously like they really go over the top. Like, I mean, there's a lot of guns in American films and action film, movies and whatnot, but like, holy shit. Like they definitely had theirs, and the squibs, endless squibs, for the thing, which is also cool too. It's something you don't
Yeah.
get. CGI can't replicate that sometimes, but
No, yeah, yeah, the endless bullets in the guns, the guy gets, 10 bullets in him before he goes down. But yeah, it's well, some people have called this, like gun porn or whatever. But there's like if it was just mindless violence, then it wouldn't work, or it would work to a lesser degree. There's a emotion behind it, and the crazy thing about this movie is that John Woo didn't have a script when he went into this movie. He had sort of like an outline of what he wanted to do, but he was writing the script on set as he was going. So it was very emotionally driven. It went from scene to scene. He would ask the actors at the time, how do you think the characters would be feeling at this moment? Is very intuitive movie, and it's crazy that it works so well that it goes from scene to scene and has sort of a internal logic, but it is sort of the characters are going from scene to scene. It's not like the killer has a huge plan on how to get out of this mess. He's sort of flying by the seat of his pants and just trying to get from place to place. He just knows he wants to get out of this with his woman and get her eyes fixed. And so there's you don't really get a moment to really rest to kind of think about the plot because there's so much nonstop action that's going on, and I think that's to the benefit of the movie, because I think if you sat down and it's almost like a House of Cards, maybe if you sat down and kind of started thinking too hard about the plot, it might, you know, it might collapse on itself. But there's like this dance that you're doing with the action, the story, the emotions. There's so much action and emotion that's invested in this movie, that you're so invested with the characters, you don't have time to either think of you know, anything else as far as, you know, the internal logic of the movie. Um, but yeah, the I and we talked about Chow Yun Fat. He's an interesting hero to this. He's not
He's the
sure.
god of gambling.
Yeah, he's almost got like a little bit of a baby face to him. He's not like
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
strictly masculine looking man, but you by the end of it, he's won you over.
And,
He is the
and
man, you know.
uh, also, and you kind of assume this is kind of like a us. I mean, this is definitely for sure. I had my share of American Ninja 1 through 4, and
Uh-huh.
all those permutations where there's some kind of a ninja or martial arts in the military, or likewise some kind of martial arts and cop or thing. Those were my jam growing up, like Lionheart and like and all these and all this. But he does not he does not have a martial arts background like a Jackie Chan or a other very super famous ones that Brandon Lee or well, blanket is that it was his son Bruce Lee. Shame on me for not anyway. Anyway, there's been a deep history of this, but he works very well. And he has a very good face for acting because like you actually care about you get that he actually cares about her. And the other thing too that bolsters his side of the story, I agree. If you don't spend too long picking it apart or whatever, it is plausible. I mean, you suspend disbelief. It's an action movie, right? So, but it's essentially it's a death run. Like for him, unfortunately for him, like it's not quite pinned in, but as things kind of stack up and build up, like it's kind of like building up, his tomb, essentially. Like, but putting that aside, you believe that because he wants to get out of the life or the whatever, he wants to retire, he wants to move on. He has other ambitions and thoughts and desires, obviously, and obviously he sees that. I think he's letting his humanity creep in because he is more coming out of that world or trying to come out of that world, I guess. But, and likewise, because the more that he's pushed in and more compacted back into that and he reacts very strongly. I don't know if you saw that push pull or whatever, but anyway, it
Yeah,
was a cool, great
yeah,
dynamic. And
yeah,
I love him. And it makes you just want to watch more of his films anyway. I,
yeah.
I, I probably don't want to see The God of Gambling, which is like a kind of joke about it, but like up until like a few years ago, like it's still pumping out movies or whatever. Like, so I just know that that's like a big franchise out that way. And it's been out forever, kind of like our endless, I don't know, pick something, pick
Right.
something
Yeah.
endless that we have that never dies.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and Chow Yun Fat, yeah, he seems like a really really nice guy from what I hear. Yeah, he wasn't not, like you said, he's not like a martial arts guy. He's not into violence. He's a more of a, you know, actor. And for this movie, he really had to kind of put himself out there. There's a scene where he has to beat up these hoodlums that are attacking his blind woman, and you know, he really couldn't make. He was having trouble making it convincing because he didn't want to hit the guys and whatnot. And John Woo had to kind of pump him up and, you know, take him aside and really pump him up. And evidently, he got real pumped up. He almost hurt the guys, but yeah, it wasn't natural to him. And like you were saying earlier, John Woo was getting pushback on this movie getting made, and he really felt passionate about this movie. He really wanted to get this movie made, and you can see the passion on the screen. But yeah, he met up. You know, they said that, you know, you're not going to be able to make this movie unless you have a big star in it, like Chow Yun Fat. And you know, he came from you know, they did a Better Tomorrow together, so there's that relationship there. And they met up at one point. They met at a store or on the street, and Xiao Yun Fat tell John Woo was down. And he's like, "What, man? What's going on?" And he goes, "Well, I'm trying to get this movie made, and this is not happening." And Chow said, we'll get this movie made." And yeah, he went to Golden Princess, which he was, I guess, tied with, and yeah, and they said they would put the money in as long as Chow was the star of it, and like you said, Danny Lee, who was tied to the production company Magnum, they brought in the other set of money, so that Danny Lee could be in it as well. Danny Lee, he plays the cop in it, and he's from what I could tell, his career, he mainly just plays cops in movies, and in fact, they said later in his career, probably thought he was a cop, that way he acted and stuff. He kind of got in that mindset set that he was a cop. And but yeah, you could tell that all the characters are really invested in what they were doing, and unfortunately, obviously, the weakest character is the love interest, the blind lady in it, and she even says that she probably didn't do her best performance in there, and it
Well,
unfortunately, she's sort of like that damsel in distress that really does it. That's really there as a prop for most of the thing.
well, it is. There was, there just has to be some, some stretching going on, that just pulls it out in some ways, like where there's a lot to get. The movie covers a lot. Like
Absolutely.
just there's a lot of shootouts, of chases, of like a little bit of hijinks, like
Yeah.
kind of like I wouldn't quite say kind of like running through like one scene and then coming back through this, you could see like where if it were elongated, it could be a little bit more comical, and you could see something like a Jackie Chan kind of spring from that natural thing. This doesn't have any of that, just to be clear, but it does have, if you give it the patience to build up and you give it, you know, things to go there, you get on board pretty quickly. I mean, it you can't help but and um man, this was all I remember having. I remember being a kid. If I would have saw this as a kid, I would have loved, I would have absolutely fell in love with this, like just like all that at the time, and I would have absolutely had um carry around our cap guns and like our, just being a kid and playing all those kind of cool things and whatnot. It's got everything. But it is essentially, I mean, this is essentially John Wick. I mean, like this is, it's just in a kind of a different kind of way. There's a different push and a pull there, different motivations, but they're not dissimilar.
Yeah, which is
For
which,
eerie, but you can see the
absolutely.
similarities anyway, the DNA.
Yeah, yeah, and obviously they try to make this movie a remake of it in America for the longest time, and yeah, at one point, Keanu they were trying to get Keanu Reeves in a version of this American version of it. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that yeah he went on to do John Wick, and yeah, this movie is it's building on the tradition, like I said, it's inspired by Mean Streets and the Samurai, and you can see a lot of the DNA of a lot of maybe even westerns and a lot of American movies. I got the sense, that whole dynamic of this tortured anti-hero in it. You did get a real sense of masculinity and a lot of the DNA of a lot of American movies. But I couldn't place a finger directly on which one it was. It was more of a sense of it, but it's not like he's trying to make an American movie. It's very much a Hong Kong movie, but it kind of it feels sort of international at the same time. You see all these various elements. You and I can relate to these characters in a way that maybe another Hong Kong movie we couldn't. There is sort of like that universal connection, but at the same time, there's sort of a strong Hong Kong connection as well, and maybe it's because it was such an open port at the time, before Chinese government had kind of came in on it, so it was sort of open to the world. kind of feel to it. But yeah, there's so many elements that it's almost like you have like 100 different spinning plates going at the same time, and it is crazy that none of them have fall and crash. But it's all working, and it's kind of amazing to see this spectacle kind of play across. And yeah, we hadn't seen an action movie like this. Before this, you had your especially in America, you had your Stallone, you had your Schwarzenegger, you had your Steven Seagal. You had these big movies built around these big characters, and this almost like it kind of rang in a new reign of action. It just and John Woo after this, it actually didn't do all that well to start with in Hong Kong. The movie didn't have a make a big splash. It actually was the international audience is what really built up the admiration and the excitement for this movie. In fact, right after this, they Hollywood came knocking at John Woo's door saying, "Hey, come across them to America, and we'll maybe set you up." And he didn't want to do that because his English wasn't very good at the time, and he actually made a few more movies before he went to America while he was boning up on his English. So because he didn't want to get it taken advantage of, and he knew if he didn't know the language that well, that maybe that would happen. And so he played it very smart and made a few more um, influential Hong Kong movies before he went on to do Hard Target, which I have a spot for. It was my first and only Jean Claude Van Damme movie that I've seen, but
Yeah, well,
maybe
well,
that's
I
for the
might
best. I don't know.
Well, I might have a few more to add on that pile if we ever get
Okay.
around to that. Maybe for 2026. Well, with action file, yeah, absolutely. Action movies are a genre that we absolutely will. I love how that
Yeah.
we can justify these things and just it's just an excuse for us to watch really cool stuff. So
Yeah, to nerd
no,
out. Yeah, absolutely.
well, and Hong Kong, I mean, it's a prestige film essentially. I mean, that's what it's a premiere serious film that builds on it, and it makes you looking at these pictures of this, it makes me want to go back and like just watch it like enjoy it, but also have it like kind of lined up for not just seeing it again, but seeing something before that one, or maybe after, something along those. I just think you get where we're going here, but this is an excellent film that you pulled out here and picked for us for our first. Well, I mean, this is the last Sunday of 2025, so
Mhm.
this is a great film to curl up with and have available and play sometime during the week of New Year's, or
Yeah,
New
yeah,
Year's Eve.
you need
It's just
a
perfect.
lot of explosions and
It's just
flashy
perfect.
big
Yeah.
bangs. It's good for for the new year. And in fact, while I was watching it, especially the big action piece at the end, which almost took a month to film. I think it
It
took a
kind of
month.
reminded
Yeah.
me of Boondock Saints I mean, a little bit. I
Uh-huh.
mean,
Yeah, there's
eerie echoes of other films. Anyway, no.
Yeah, that were obviously inspired. And then one movie that we covered a year or two ago, The Crow. It famously ends in a church with a bunch of birds flying around, which is obviously inspired by this movie. But yeah, there's a lot of movies. Anytime you see a bird flying through an action scene, that's John Woo, and or either that or it's been inspired by a John Woo movie. And he also he also said that I find this interesting. All those moments where the killer and the cop are sort of doing their little standoffs or doing little things
Cat mouse
against it.
thing,
Yeah,
right?
cat and mouse thing.
Little Tom
Um,
and Jerry action.
yeah, and not too far off. He was inspired by Spy versus Spy, Mad Magazine Spy versus Spy. That sort of interplay between the two
Well,
two little characters.
there also is a healthy dose of Western. Well, you could argue too, or either Western or samurai, whatever you want to, pick your kind of thing. There are echoes of that for sure. Well, this was definitely the cool gangster film, like where the gangster's kind of cool and I guess strong and silent type, or dark and brooding. I don't know. Yeah,
Mhm.
dark and brooding would probably be a little bit better than strong and silent type. But it's still it still works.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and yeah, the Chow Yun Fat character, even though he's sort of like, yeah, the strong, silent kind of guy, he has a warmth to him, and there's so much emotion that plays across his face. In fact, I there's a couple of dings that I have for the movie. One of them is Chow Yun Fat's cry face. It's not the best in the world. Nah, not the best. He might want to work on that a little bit. But that and there's a scene at the end that's supposed to be emotional. That's kind of comical. There's a scene where both the killer and the woman he loves, their eyes are they can't see each other, and they're trying to go.
Jelly?
Yeah, yeah, they're trying to go towards each other, but they're missing each
Yeah.
other, and
Right.
it's a unfortunately it's a little bit it's kind of funny. It's like,
Right. Yeah.
where are you, and they can't find each other, and it's in a highly intense emotional scene, but it does kind of play a little fun. So that's one of the rare misses in the movie. But the whole action sequence at the end is just spectacular, and you can see where, you know, it very influential to today's action movie, but it's also very inspiring for video games. You know, what video game have you played that you want that kind of overwhelming intensity to it? I was watching it and I was like, man, yeah, this is what you want to experience whenever you're playing a video game. In fact, they made a sequel to Hard Boiled as a video game that came out on the PS3 a little bit later, and
They
and in
really.
fact,
That's
yeah,
fascinating.
yeah. Let me find the name of that John Woo video game. But yeah, they and the cool thing about it was on the PS3 version of it. It's called Stranglehold, and it stars Chow Yun Fat, and but yeah, you play as Chow Yun Fat, and yeah, it's a direct sequel to Hard Boiled, and you actually get the movie Hard Boiled on your copy of the game Stranglehold. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, if we ever do, we always tease about doing a video game stream. That would, I don't know, we'd probably have to get a. It's kind of locked to the PS3, but we would have to kind of.
It it's funny because over between 2018, I think, and 2022, I think. Anyway, I during those years I did go back and I did pick up and buy, and I did spend some money on. I made sure I got a good working
Mhm,
PS2. I made sure I got a good working PS3. I made sure,
mhm,
I got the PS, the PS4 is
mhm.
fine. I don't have the only one I don't have is a PS5. And I also don't have I don't have an Xbox 360 or original. I don't have that, but those aren't really on the high on the pantheon of things. But anyway, caveat being that I do have the equipment. So at some point, me and Tom do want to do this thing. And I did actually, to kind of update Tom here in real time, as we're recording this, I did pick up that game on Steam that we talked about, like before we
Gotcha.
dipped out last week. But anyway, yeah, that would be fun. This does kind of make you. I could easily see where either this sets you up to go play like some kind of a shoot 'em up game, maybe,
Mhm.
or equally true, the samurai. It's always kind of like not
Yeah,
far from this martial arts, implied martial arts or whatever thing, but it works very well. I love this. This pretty much is going to open up a new a subgenre exploration for us, I think.
yeah. I
I
think
think
we
we
should
both
do
agree with
it.
that.
We've been doing different theme months. I think we probably want to do a Hong Kong month, action month, or something to
A
that
Hong Kong
fact.
New Year.
Yeah,
Chinese New
yeah.
Year and the New Year for that's not really the Chinese New Year.
Yeah, so
I'm sure will offend everybody out there.
right, exactly. But yeah, one other thing I was going to mention is I guess there was some bad mistranslations and various translations on this movie. And I know for various versions the killer's name in the movie changes from translation to translation. Sometimes it's Ah Jung, and sometimes it's John, sometimes it's Jeff, and then the there's
Right.
some kidding names that they create for each other. There's in the version I watched, I called Mike a little B at the beginning. It was
Right.
little B and a little B and shrimp head at
Right.
the version I watched. But the other versions is Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, and I think there's some even more offensive ones like Dickhead and something or other. But yeah, the nicknames are different. Also, I wanted to talk about the physical media since I'm the physical media guy. I did get the one of the reasons why I thought of doing the killer right now is that Shout Factory's got a beautiful 4K restored version on that came out last month, and really great um, addition to your collection. And actually, they've got the rights to a lot of Hong Kong movies that are coming out right now. So I'm having a smorgasbord of spending lots of money on these various Hong Kong movies that are coming out that I watched as a young lad and are re-experiencing and crystal clear 4K. I gotta say that the 4K of this is a really pristine, really great looking 4K of this movie. Hasn't ever looked better. I guess there here we go. But yeah, it looks amazing, and you do get the movie. If you get the 4K, it's you get the 4K, the Blu-ray, and a disc of extras. You also get a little booklet here with different essays in here. So very nice. And then the case that comes in is really hard, nice hard case. Holder of it, and it's a little expensive. Both this and hard boiled come like this, and are obviously it's some of his best movies, so they're gonna do the nicest edition. I gave you the link to GRUV. They're the ones that are they specialize in putting out the Shop Factory's product, and then this is part of their Asian line, their Hong Kong cinema classics. So like I said, a little expensive. Amazon had it for $10 cheaper, so I got it for $40. There may be a cheaper version that comes out later where it's just the movie and not like the book and the hard case. So you may want to hold out on it, but the hard boiled one is sold out. And they probably knew the killer would be a bigger seller, so they maybe made a little bit more of these. I don't think it. I think at one time it sold out, but it's like I said, currently in stock, so I don't know what the stock situation is, if they're close to running out or what. So, you know, if you really want the really nice edition, the deluxe limited edition, you probably want to go ahead and pull the trigger on it. And also, it looks like Arrow, the UK British side of Arrow, is doing their own releases of it. Since Hard Boiled, I missed out on Hard Boiled, which they may get more in, but I may have to pull the trigger on an Arrow version of Hard Boiled so that I could be able to add it to my collection. But yeah, unfortunately, with physical media, you run the risk of if you wait too long, it sells out. So yeah, you kind of kind of see what's available. But yeah, I've been buying up a lot of these Hong Kong, and a couple more of John Woo movies comes out in January, which Bullet to the Head, and also the Once Upon a Thief comes out as well. So I'll be adding those to my John Woo collection, and I don't believe I've seen either of those movies. So I know I've seen The Killer. I know I've seen Hard Boiled, but I think those are the main Hong Kong John Woo movies I have seen. So like Mike said, we may be revisiting these as maybe a Hong Kong month later in the year. You're muted, I think. I don't hear
Yep.
you.
No, you're right. Sorry. Had wanted to not make noise when I was opening up my stupid fizzy water. Like old man water, like, like. Anyway, no, I love this. It's totally put me in the mood for like wanting to watch something 80s. And I think actually, no, okay. So I started watching this because I did watch this a couple times. I watch some, like we'll have our different patterns and habits or whatever. So like I'll watch it right away earlier in the week, and then like I'll come back to it or rewatch it or complete it, and then I'll watch it another time like in the weekend and just have a bunch of time. It no wonder I know it was just totally stupid and screwy, but I dropped my YouTube TV subscription and
Mhm,
I went over across the street to Sling TV for a little bit to see,
mhm,
pay a little bit different and break it up a little bit, and because I've never dealt with Sling anyway.
uh,
It's cool. But they had American Ninja 2, and I had watched that. I had watched the first one like
mhm.
within the last 18 months or so. Anyway, it was no wonder like why I was into that thing too. But it's also kind of like that action movie kind of thing. Like there's also like a whole genre that I will absolutely flog Tom with. At some point when we get to it, probably in 2026, look out for that, like a series maybe where we do one on, maybe we'll do a face off or something like for the best, 007 or Mission Impossible. That would be fun too. But pulling it back to center, this has got everything. And this definitely wants me. That's just cool. I just need to buy that. I just need to buy all three of them. But that is a steal. It is pricey, but it is a steal for what you're getting. I mean, it's not
Right.
like it's going to disappear tomorrow, but it's more. Let's put it this way: for physical media, it's more likely to disappear tomorrow. We're
Yeah.
closer to that time frame than we are not, for sure.
Yeah, and it is a deluxe editions, you know, once it's gone, they're not gonna put it out again in that same format, so, you do have a rare piece of, cinema history. If, money is a little tight right now, maybe you spend a little too much on the holidays. Canopy actually, the streaming service that's tied to the libraries. If you have a library card, you have access to Canopy. They have a lot of these John Woo movies streaming for free through the library, including The Killer. So if you do want to see this movie but don't have the cashola right now, you can definitely see it for free on that service if you have a library that's tied through to Canopy. That's definitely a way to do it. But yeah, if you do have the money and you do like Hong Kong cinema, yeah, Shout Factory's doing a lot of cool stuff, releasing a lot of cool stuff, and other video boutiques sites like Arrow are releasing stuff too. So it's a really cool community to get into. And collectors tend to I don't know. I was going to say that they're supportive, but there always are those snarky ones. I'm in some of the groups on Facebook, and there's some there's some assholes out there that
Yeah.
yeah, there's someone comes out and celebrating the fact that they finally got a certain you know holy grail or grail item that they always wanted, and there's always some asshole go, why do you want that? That sucks. It's like, okay, yeah, yeah, thanks for participating, but go away now.
Right.
No one's have you piss on the parade, but yeah, so yeah, tell us what your favorite John Woo movie is, if you have one, or if you're looking forward to seeing one. Oh, actually, I meant to say this, but didn't get a chance to during it. There is a remake. I kept teasing that they've been trying to remake The Killer throughout the years. They did actually do a remake of The Killer. John Woo directed it. I didn't realize this. It came out last year, and when I was doing searches for The Killer, it kept popping up, and I was like, well, what is this thing? It came out exclusively on Peacock, that streaming service. And so
Okay.
so it's The Killer. They've gender swapped The Killer as a lady. I guess they solved the whole homoerotic thing by making one of them a lady. But yeah, John Woo directed. He didn't write it this time. For what I could read, it was yeah, obviously it's not as good as the original, but it is set in Paris, which is the same place that the samurai is set, so which inspired the killer. So that's kind of an interesting tie to to the origins of the movie. But yeah, there is that. I don't really have any interest in seeing that, even
Right.
though it is directed by John Woo. He's already got the we already got the classic killer. I may see it at one point, but since it's locked behind Peacock, one of the streaming services I don't have, I probably won't get around or make the effort to see that. There is a more recent John Woo action movie called Silent Night, which is almost they said it's almost dialogue free, which I do want to see. That one looks a little interesting. Maybe a return to action because he did actually after his after I think Payback or Paycheck or his last American movie, he did go back to Hong Kong and made a few more Hong Kong movies like Red Cliff, which I haven't seen, which is sort of a historical action movie that's gotten quite a good reviews. That one's been in my periphery that I keep wanting to see, but I've never got around to seeing. But yeah, there's John Woo's. There's a lot of cool stuff out there by John Woo that I haven't seen that I do want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was going to say the only thing we're missing here, as we kind of roll up to the end, are releasing some doves
Yeah.
to fly into the candles.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, no, this is a good one. So I guess this kind of like I guess I'll ask you, Tom. Are you more of a hard boiled guy? Or are you more of a killer guy, or are you not going to play the game?
I think I'm more of a killer. I put my name there as the killer, so I
A
guess
killer?
I
Right on.
am.
Awesome,
All
awesome,
right.
awesome. Well, I think we covered everything. Do we get anything else in, or forget
I,
anything?
I think that's it, Lil B.
Awesome. Well, I've been Little B.
And I'm Shrimp Head. I'll
And we'll be back next week.
uh,
This has been the First Last podcast.
be seeing you.